My name is Grayson. I'm 45 years old. I live just outside Denver in a 4-bedroom house with 3 cars in the driveway, a tidy lawn I mow myself, and a family that once made me believe I belonged. I married Julie 9 years ago. She had 2 kids from her previous marriage, Cody and Mia. When we met, Cody was 11, Mia 9. Their father, Justin, had already drifted out of their daily lives like smoke through a cracked window. He sent postcards sometimes, a gift here and there, pop-ins around Christmas. A man of holidays and hashtags. He brought flash, not presents. I didn't come in like a hero. I wasn't trying to replace anyone. I just showed up, quietly, every day. Doctor's visits, homework help, soccer cleats, haircuts. I learned how to braid Mia's hair off YouTube. I stayed up until 2 in the morning helping Cody edit his science fair video. I drove them to school, sat through parent-teacher conferences, waited in hospital parking lots, paid for streaming subscriptions, art supplies, dentist bills. I was always there. Never loud, never demanding, just steady. Their father lived in Arizona. Nice weather, no accountability. He'd FaceTime from golf courses, send headphones and thinking of you messages when it was convenient, then disappear again. But he was Dad. That word held power no matter how hollow it rang. Me? I was Grayson, placeholder, a utility. Julie used to say I was the glue, that I kept things from falling apart. And maybe for a while I believed her. But glue doesn't get thanked. It gets painted over and forgotten. When Cody turned 18, something shifted. Subtle at first. He started texting Justin more, laughing at memes I wasn't included in. Mia began mailing him her sketches, drawings that used to end up on my office wall, folded with sticky notes that said, "For Gray." At first, I chalked it up to adolescence. Identity. Maybe they were searching for something I couldn't give them, blood. I didn't take it personally. Not yet. Julie and I had agreed we'd support them through college. I opened a $529 savings account and contributed monthly, $500, like clockwork. I never missed a deposit. I tracked interest. I met with advisors. I toured campuses with them. I held umbrellas over their heads in the rain while we talked about futures. Mia wanted behavioral psychology. Cody dreamed of LA and storyboards. I told myself they saw it. Not just the money, but the effort, the sacrifice. I told myself one day they'd understand what it meant to show up even when you had nothing left to give. But then Justin got loud again. He sent a gaming laptop to Cody. $1,800 with RGB lights and a handwritten note that said, "So proud of you, bud." He mailed Mia a Wacom tablet and posted her drawings on his Instagram with captions like, "So talented," just like her old man. Suddenly he was offering to help with tuition, promised to match contributions, said he'd fly out for graduation. And instead of skepticism, they welcomed it, like stray dogs running back to the sound of a familiar whistle. Still, I kept going. I wasn't doing it for gratitude. I reminded myself of that daily. But even patience has a shelf life. Then came that night. Ordinary dinner. Meatloaf, roasted potatoes, salad from a bag. I brought out the folders, the spreadsheets, the financial projections. I showed them what I had saved. I explained how it would work, how the money was structured, the aid I expected, the sacrifices Julie and I had planned to make. Cody looked at me and said, "Shouldn't this be something our real parents handle?" The words didn't sting at first. Not like they should have. My brain paused, tried to reframe it. Maybe he meant biological. Maybe it was a joke. An awkward teenage fumble. So I asked again, "What do you mean?" He didn't blink. "You've done a lot. More than most. But you're not our dad. You've just always helped out." Mia didn't look at me. She was picking at her food, but her voice was steady. "You've been generous. But now we want to build something with our real dad. Start fresh. He's trying. Trying. Trying." That word rang in my ears like a fire alarm with no flames. Justin had tried for 9 years from 3 states away while I stood in the storm. And now that the sky was clear, he wanted the credit. Julie said nothing, just sat there with her fork in her hand, jaw slightly clenched. not even pretending to interrupt. That silence cut deeper than the words. Not family, just backup. I left the table, didn't speak, didn't slam anything, just walked to the study, shut the door, sat at my desk, and opened the folder labeled Family. Canceled the Netflix subscription, removed their profiles from Spotify, revoked access to the shared cloud where I'd backed up years of their school projects and drawings, disabled their phones from the family plan, mine, of course. Everything had been under my name. Every convenience, every little digital kindness. Gone. Then I opened the college savings account. $68,421.92. Transferred it out. Created a private investment portfolio. Locked it down. They drew the line. So I drew one too. Let me know if you'd like any edits. Ready for part 2 when you are. I didn't speak to any of them for the rest of that night. Julie knocked once on the study door. Soft, hesitant. But she didn't come in. I heard her whispering in the hallway later, trying to calm the kids down. I heard Cody laugh. Heard Mia say, "He'll get over it." Heard the house return to normal like nothing had happened. As if I was a fixture, not a father. But I was already gone. Not physically. Not yet. But something fundamental inside me had snapped so cleanly it didn't even bleed. The next morning I made the calls. First the phone carrier. I explained the situation and had them remove Cody and Mia's lines from the plan. They'd get the notice soon enough. Your account is no longer active. You can transfer it or lose it. Let their real dad figure it out. Then the subscriptions: HBO Max, Hulu, Spotify, Apple Music, Xbox Game Pass. I hadn't realized just how much I'd signed up for over the years. How much of my paycheck had disappeared into these little comforts they assumed just existed. Like running water or air conditioning. I turned it all off. Not out of spite. Out of principle. I deleted my saved payment methods from their Amazon profiles. Blocked their access to my Uber account. Changed the passwords on everything, even the cloud drive where I had archived their entire childhood, report cards, artwork, school videos. I had treated that archive like sacred history. But sacred things don't belong to people who mock the altar. Julie confronted me around lunchtime. She came into the study, arms crossed, face already twisted in that mix of disbelief and controlled rage. "What the hell are you doing?" I didn't look up from my screen. "I'm simplifying. You're punishing them." "No," I said. "I'm correcting a mistake." Her breath caught for a second. "You're just going to what? Pull the rug out from under them?" I didn't pull anything. I just stopped holding the weight. They're the ones who said I don't belong. I'm just giving them what they asked for. They're kids, Grayson. They're adults when they want agency. But when accountability shows up, they crawl back into childhood. She didn't like that. She stormed out, muttering something under her breath. I didn't follow. 3 hours later, Mia texted me. "Hey, Spotify isn't working. Can you fix it?" I stared at the screen for a long time before replying. "You'll need to ask your real dad." The typing bubble appeared, then disappeared, then came back. RLY. I didn't answer. 5 minutes later, Cody called. I let it ring out. Then he sent a message. "I need my phone line back. It's linked to my bank and school stuff. This is messing with everything." I texted him back. "If I'm not your parent, I'm not your provider." Julie confronted me again that night after dinner. She didn't cook. No one did. The kitchen stayed dark. A house without dinner is louder than one filled with shouting. "You're overreacting," she said. "No," I replied. "I've been underreacting for years." She stood there, mouth open, trying to summon a rebuttal that didn't exist. I went upstairs and left her in the silence she had once weaponized. Later, in bed, she whispered, "They're confused. They're just trying to reconnect with their dad. They can do that, but not on my dime. You helped raise them, Grayson." And they thanked me by spitting in my face. They didn't mean it like that. They said what they meant. I finally heard them. She turned away. The following day, the real panic began. Cody's university called. Or rather, they called me because I was still listed as the financial guarantor. They left a voicemail saying the next tuition installment had failed. I didn't call them back. I forwarded the voicemail to Julie. Then came the email from Mia's program administrator. She had missed her deposit deadline for the upcoming semester. No funds had arrived. She was going to lose her spot if it wasn't paid by the 15th. I read the email, then archived it. That afternoon, Cody showed up in the doorway of my study. His arms were crossed, but his face gave him away. He looked smaller, less sure. "Why are you doing this?" I didn't look up from my desk. "Because you said I'm not your parent. You know I didn't mean it like that. I don't know what you meant. I only know what you said. And now I'm honoring your words." "This is petty." "No," I said, standing. "Petty is what happens when you're hurt and want someone else to feel it. This is accounting. You declared the balance. I'm collecting it." He opened his mouth, then closed it. His shoulders dropped slightly. "Justin said he can help." I nodded. "Good. Let him." He hasn't. He said he would. He's just figuring it out." I walked over, opened the drawer to my filing cabinet, and pulled out the tuition receipts from the last 3 years. I handed them to him. "Figure it out with him. These are your records. You'll need them." He took the folder, his hand trembling slightly, then turned and walked out without another word. Mia was next. She came in while I was making coffee. No hello. Just a quiet, tight-lipped, "You really canceled everything?" I didn't answer. I just nodded. "You promised you'd help," she whispered. I turned and looked at her. Really looked. "I promised when I thought we were family. You've redefined that relationship. I'm just following your lead." She didn't cry. I'll give her that. She just walked out, slow and stiff, like every step hurt. By the end of the week, the house was quieter. Julie moved through it like she was mourning something. Maybe she was. Maybe she finally realized I wasn't bluffing. Cody started working nights at a local electronics store. Mia picked up a shift at the cafe down the street. They stopped talking at dinner, stopped asking me for anything. Julie barely looked at me, but there was no anger in me, only stillness, a kind of clarity I hadn't felt in years. Because once someone tells you you're not family, you're free. Free to stop pretending. Free to stop paying. Free to stop breaking your own back for people who only see your wallet. Justin never paid a dime. Never filled out a single aid form. Didn't return calls. But that wasn't my problem anymore. Let him be the hero. Let him see what real parenting looks like when there's no applause. Let them learn what I had carried all these years. Julie told me one night, in a voice that barely rose above the hum of the refrigerator, "They get it now, but it might be too late." I didn't answer. I just took a sip of water, nodded once, and went back to my study. Sometimes lessons only sink in when the money dries up. The silence didn't come all at once. Crept in, quiet, cunning. It filled the empty chairs at dinner, the air between passing glances, the space where music used to play through the shared speakers I'd disconnected. At first, they didn't notice. The kids thought I was bluffing, that I was sulking, that I would come around, that I was the kind of man who gave even when he was disrespected, the kind who never made them earn it, the kind who could be broken down with time. But I wasn't that man anymore. That man had died the night I realized I wasn't family, just funding. It started with the little things. Mia emailed me a 3-paragraph note. "Grayson, I don't know what this is supposed to prove. You promised to help with school. You said you believed in me, that this wasn't about being blood. It was about showing up. Now you're acting like we don't exist. You're better than this. Mia." I stared at the email for a long time. Read it twice, 3 times. The same girl who told me to my face I wasn't her real parent now used words like promise and betrayal, like she hadn't already drawn the line, like I was expected to forget. I didn't respond, not because I didn't care, but because I finally understood what they wanted. A blank check tied to a silenced voice. A father's wallet, not a father's presence. The next day, Cody showed up in person. He stood in the doorway of my study, arms folded, face unreadable. "You really going to keep this up?" I didn't stop typing. He stepped in. I'm serious, Grayson. So am I. He scoffed. I'm not asking for much. Just time to figure things out. You pulled the rug. No, I said without turning. I pulled my money. You pulled the rug. Don't be like this. Like what? Like you didn't raise us. I stopped typing then, closed the laptop, looked him in the eyes. I didn't raise you. I paid for you. And the moment I stopped, you started looking for someone else to keep the lights on. So don't rewrite history now. He stared at me for a long second. His mouth opened, then closed. Then he left. The silence returned that night, thick as concrete. Julie started leaving her meals on the stove instead of setting the table. No one waited for anyone anymore. We became roommates, strangers orbiting the same refrigerator. Mia started eating in her room. Cody stopped talking altogether. And Julie, she moved through the house like a shadow, there, but never present. Grief wore her like perfume. I heard her crying once. In the laundry room. Thought I'd misheard at first. But then I stood by the door and waited. The muffled sobs. The gasp for breath. Then the dryer door slamming shut. But she never came to me. Never admitted it. They were waiting for me to crack. For me to return to the role I had carved into my bones for nearly a decade. The ATM. The invisible pillar. The disposable man. But this time I didn't break. Mia's missed tuition deadline passed. Her university account was flagged. She got an email. I know because it arrived while she was downstairs. She read it at the kitchen island and sat there for 10 minutes, unmoving. I watched from the hallway, unseen. Her eyes didn't tear up, but her posture collapsed. Like something internal gave out. She started working weekends, early mornings, double shifts. I saw the circles under her eyes. Heard the blender whirring when she got home late. She didn't complain. But she didn't talk to me either. Julie stopped asking me to reconsider. Not out of agreement, out of resignation. I think she finally understood. I wasn't bluffing. I wasn't punishing. I was done. She once whispered it to herself. Too soft to be meant for anyone. They chose him, and now he's gone. I didn't correct her, because he could have meant Justin. Or me. Both would have been true. Cody dropped out of a full semester of classes. Couldn't afford the late fees. Took night shifts. Said he was reevaluating. But I saw the job application tabs open on the family computer. Sales rep. Delivery driver. Low pay, long hours. His pride kept him quiet. But one night, I found him asleep in the garage, sitting in the driver's seat of his car with the engine off and his phone dead in his lap. I didn't wake him, just walked back inside. The storm had come, and I was letting it pass. Julie cornered me after 2 weeks of silence. Just talk to them, she said. They're struggling. I know. You could help. I've helped for 9 years. They need you. They needed me before, when it mattered. You're angry. No, I said. I'm finally clear. They miss you. I looked at her, and my voice didn't rise. It didn't shake. It landed like a knife into soft ground. They missed the man who paid without asking questions. The one who smiled while being erased. That man doesn't live here anymore. She didn't speak again that night. The next day, Justin called. I didn't know at first. It was Julie's phone. I only heard her side. Yeah, no, he shut it down. Yeah, all of it. Mia's working now. Cody too. No, I don't think he will. Because they said it, Justin. To his face. Silence. Then, if you're going to help, help. But don't make promises you can't keep again. I walked past her as she ended the call. Didn't say anything. She looked at me like she wanted to. But her mouth stayed shut. Justin didn't send anything. No wire transfer. No check. No tuition aid. Just a repost of Cody's old short film with the caption, "Proud of my son. He's grinding." Grinding. As if working minimum wage jobs and failing college was the same thing as ambition. That night, Mia left her sketchbook on the kitchen counter. Open. Pages splayed. On purpose. I saw the drawing. It was me, not smiling, just sitting in the backyard chair, beer in hand, watching her and Cody chase the dog. A quiet summer evening from years ago. In the corner, small, she had written, "The one who stayed." I stared at it for a long time. Then I closed the sketchbook and left it right where she'd put it. Because a drawing isn't an apology. And regret isn't the same as repair. Julie tried again. One last time. "Maybe they're learning," she said, voice barely above a whisper. I looked at her. Really looked. "They should have learned before they burned the bridge." She closed her eyes. "They were just kids. They were old enough to know what they were saying. Old enough to weaponize it. They've changed." I walked past her without answering. Not because I disagreed, but because change, like forgiveness, comes after you face the consequences, not before. It had been nearly a year since Cody and Mia drew the line in the sand and called it family. Since then, the house had rearranged itself. Same walls, same rooms, but nothing familiar lived there anymore. The mornings were quiet. No one asked me to make breakfast. No one needed rides or reminders. Julie barely spoke. She left early and returned late. When she was home, she moved around me like I was made of glass. Careful not to bump. Careful not to break. Mia kept her head down. She still lived under the same roof, but you'd never know it. She worked. She slept. She sketched in the corners of her room where I wasn't welcome. Sometimes I'd find a plate in the sink or hear her door creak after midnight. That was the extent of our interaction, echoes and dishes. Cody had moved out, found a room to rent with 2 friends, paid weekly, worked full-time and enrolled in night classes when he could. I heard about it from Julie, never from him. Justin never came through. That part didn't surprise anyone. He made promises like a man throwing stones into the ocean. Just enough splash to look meaningful. They didn't speak his name much anymore. And yet, even in the silence, something else had begun to settle. Not peace, not forgiveness, just truth. The truth that I wasn't their father. That I had never been more than convenient. Until I wasn't. One night, long after the house had gone quiet, I sat alone in the study. I opened the folder labeled 529 out of habit, where the college funds had once lived. It was empty now, just a symbol of what I'd been willing to give and what I'd reclaimed. I added something new to it, Mia's drawing. The one she'd left on the counter months ago, never spoken of again. I hadn't mentioned it, and neither had she. But I kept it, folded gently, pressed flat. Not out of sentiment, out of recognition. They would never give me love, but they had given me a lesson. And that was worth preserving. The next day, Cody came back. It was early, still dark outside. I was making coffee when I heard a knock. Not the casual kind. Not the pounding of urgency. Just a knock with weight behind it. A knock that said, "I need this." I opened the door. There he stood. Older. Thinner. His face had the same bones but different shadows. He looked like a man who'd stopped believing in shortcuts. That alone surprised me. In his hand, an envelope. He didn't speak right away. Just handed it to me. I opened it. Inside was a photo. Graduation. Cap and gown. Cody in the middle of a campus courtyard. Grinning awkwardly. Not posing. Not preening. Just finished. "I paid for this myself," he said. "Took longer. Worked through nights. Took loans. Missed a lot. But I got there." I said nothing. He nodded. "I thought you should have it, since you helped start it, even if you didn't finish it." Still, I said nothing. He rubbed the back of his neck. "I'm not asking for anything. I'm not here to make speeches. Just thought you should see it." I looked at the photo again. And I'll admit this, it didn't hurt. Not anymore. "Thank you," I said. He stepped back. "That's all. I'll go." "Wait," I said. He paused. I walked into the study, pulled open the drawer, took out the folder, and slid the photo inside, next to Mia's sketch. Closed it. Locked it. "Why'd you do that?" he asked. "Because it belongs in the same place." He didn't ask what I meant. Didn't need to. We stood there a moment longer. 2 men divided by blood, but united by something neither of us had a word for. He left without looking back. Julie came home later. I told her he'd come by, that he'd left a photo. She said, "He's changed." I said, "So have I." She sat at the table, looked out the window. "Do you ever regret it?" I didn't answer right away. Then I said, "No. I regret letting it go on as long as it did." She nodded. No protest. No excuses. Just the slow silence of someone who had stopped defending the indefensible. We didn't talk much after that. And that's fine. Because some things don't need fixing. Some things need distance. Mia came to me a few weeks later. She didn't apologize. She didn't explain. She just handed me an envelope, another sketch. It was the house. Our house. Except in the drawing, the lights were off. "I've been drawing it like this," she said, "trying to figure out when it went dark." I looked at it, said, "The day you turned off the switch." She didn't flinch. She just nodded. "Do you think it'll come back on?" I shrugged. "That's not up to me." She stood there, said nothing, then left the room. I added that sketch to the folder too, because that's what it was now, a scrapbook of things unsaid, of moments that might have been love or guilt or something in between. And that's where it ends. Not with a reunion, not with a hug, just a locked drawer in a quiet room. Because sometimes the loudest statement you can make isn't anger, it's absence. Sometimes the greatest lesson isn't what you give, it's what you stop giving. And sometimes the photo they hand you isn't a thank you. It's an obituary for the man they could have had, but chose to bury. So I'll ask you what I ask myself every night. When someone tells you you're not our dad, what do you owe them? When someone takes from you and then calls you nothing, what's left to give? Would you have stayed? Or would you have walked away too? Because I didn't walk out of their lives. They walked out of mine. And all I did was shut the door behind them. Quietly,